Sam Derrick here, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Dusk Till Dawn, the podcast of Dawn, the Disability and Wellness Network. It's episode 3, and today I'm joined by Rebecca Jackson. Rebecca is also a member of the Dawn Committee, and she's going to talk to us today about how complex regional pain syndrome affects her. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you for asking.
Good.
I thought we'd start a bit, so if you wanted to tell me a bit about what you do at Centrica, your role, how you got there, and maybe a little bit about your involvement in the Dawn Committee.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm in the Global Business Service, working in the HR part of that.
Mhm.
So my job title is GBS Operations Analyst, and at the moment I'm working on the HR Shared Service Transformation Programme, which is incredibly interesting. I joined that after I was on the resourcing compliance team, and when I was doing that role, I studied my CIPD in human resource management, had a huge interest in change and project management from studying that. So it kind of naturally took me to a project-based role.
Yeah.
And then in Dawn, I'm the internal and external lead. So I look at different resources that we have within Centrica, but also external resources that can help support people with disabilities, well-being, mindfulness, anything like that, really.
Brilliant, which is obviously a very useful role in the Dawn Committee.
Yeah.
So the main topic of today's episode, we're going to talk about your condition, which is complex regional pain syndrome, also known as CRPS. Why have you decided to talk about this today?
More to raise awareness than anything else. So CRPS is very kind of under the radar. It's quite a new condition that the medical world's getting to their head around. Quite under researched at the moment because of, as the name suggests, it's incredibly complex. But if by raising awareness, it helps just one person who either needs to understand it because someone around them or experiencing it themselves, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think we know these things can be quite tricky.
How
does it impact your life on what's your day to day? What sort of things does it affect that, we might otherwise take for granted?
Yeah, so I'm really fortunate actually in the fact that after about 2 years of having it, I've started to recover. So at the moment, the only impact it has on me is that I can't walk as far or stand as long as kind of an average person could. However, when it first happened, it became my whole life. It completely took over. From a physical perspective, I couldn't walk. I really struggled to do a few steps because of the amount of pain I was in. I struggled with clothing because the touch sensitivity on my feet and ankles made me feel really sick. I had extreme temperatures, so I couldn't gauge temperature. For example, if I was running a bath, my feet wouldn't recognise that it was boiling water. So there was it was quite dangerous. So I'd have to get my other half to check the bathroom bath temperature before I went in, check it was safe. And then other extremes was I was so cold, despite it being maybe, when I was in Barcelona, it was 40 degrees, but I was having to wear Ugg boots and I was shaking and my skin was black because I was just that cold. So yeah, it had a lot of physical effects on me. And of course, when you're in that much pain, you cannot sleep. It's very difficult without medication to actually even get a couple of hours sleep through it.
Yeah,
so it's very
yeah, and then the lack of sleep just makes it worse, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And emotionally you start to grieve for what you used to be. So everything from the activities you could no longer do to the way you looked as a person in the mirror. It wasn't someone that I was used to because I couldn't stand strong because I could just about stand up. So that's another element. And on a personal sort of note, I was fortunate to have people around me at work and at home and family and friends who could really look after me. But that changes their relationships with you, and they're not just someone who is there. They have to really care for you as well. They have to help, like I say, with very basic things like getting to the bathroom and getting to and from work. So they become a great lifeline. But it does mean your connections with people really grow. They become really strong, which is privilege, which is really nice. And then something that surprised me actually with this was the impact financially. So with a condition like mine, it's incredibly difficult to get a diagnosis and then define, because it can suddenly go, or it can be a lifetime thing. So financially, I found, you really kind of fund yourself. So I had to buy my own wheelchair, walking stick, all the prescriptions, all the different therapies, hydrotherapy, hypnotherapy, all of those to a degree, self-funded. So there's a financial element with your health that I'd never appreciated or understood prior to this.
Yeah.
So that was very eye-opening for me, actually.
Yeah, it's not something we always think about so much, is it, when we get prescriptions on the NHS and what have you?
So yeah, it's been really eye-opening, and the way it's affected me has been both negative and positive. Maybe negative physically, but from connecting with people and appreciation of life, that's been positive for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it builds your resilience as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you really do appreciate everything and everybody around you, and it definitely makes you stronger and more, you can fight a lot harder for things, and it drives you to achieve things that you would have took for granted prior to that.
Yeah, no, that's a really great insight. I mean, I think I feel the same on a lot of things, because obviously we have similarities in our conditions.
Yeah.
So, and you sometimes think those achievements just feel that much bigger than they
Yeah,
might.
definitely. And it's it's so nice to be like, because I said obviously I'm recovering now. I can't tell you how exciting it is to be able to do it, like a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
I get really, the first time I managed to do it, I was so giddy, and I thought, this is the best thing ever. It was amazing, and I got such a buzz off it. It was brilliant. So it's things like that. It's you really, really appreciate life and the people around you. Like, it just, I can't put into words like how lucky I am with the people around me.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that. I understand there's different types of it. Types one.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a bit about those different types?
Yeah, certainly. So type 1 is where you don't have an obvious nerve injury. So this was my type. Basically, it comes at absolute random. Basically, the brain has a complete malfunction, and it channels pain signals that it shouldn't for no reason. Whereas type 2 is where there is a kind of obvious injury. So, for example, you've fallen and you've sprained your ankle really severely, and it's obvious from that very second, and then CRPS comes as an after effect of it.
Okay, so it's probably quite similar to things like chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia.
Yes.
And other sort of general,
Yeah, definitely.
conditions. And is it the same in that it affects one gender more than the other?
So I've not known it to affect one gender more than the other. I don't think there's, like I say, it's quite under research, so there's not been anything significant to say if one type of person is more likely to get it than the other.
Sure. Okay. So I suppose with that, I mean, I was going to ask if it's, if it can be inherited or, developed later in life. But I suppose from what you've said, with the lack of research, they probably still don't know.
Yeah, and it does appear to be a very random thing. Like I said, I honestly, with this, I woke up one day and my whole life changed. And prior to that, the night before, yeah, I could never have even dreamt in a million years what I was about to go through. So it's very at random.
Yeah, and I suppose quite traumatic with that, just
Yeah.
sudden appearance of it. Not even, I know with mine, I started to get pain. It got a bit worse. So as distressing as it was, I had time to get used to it. But with yours, if you woke up one day and couldn't walk, I can only imagine that's extremely traumatic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I mean, I also understand you've got some wrist and pain issues. Did you want to talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah. So once again, it's a kind of thing that's happened overnight for me, really, where my wrists and my arms are just in kind of a constant state of agony. But obviously, once again, kind of similar to CRPS, trying to get a distinct diagnosis is very difficult, because, like CRPS, mimics many different types of chronic pain. So it mimics arthritis, fibromyalgia, for example. The pain that I've got, it could very easily be repetitive strain injury, But equally, medics have said, well, it actually could be just chronic pain. Your brain's trained to fixate on pain prior, after having CRPS, or it could be, something to do with the tendons. So that's something that's getting investigated. But it's a new part of my life that, once again, where pain has meant that I've had to adapt and take on, new ways of managing my pain, really.
Yeah, and another journey of medical appointments and just
yes,
what's going on with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So every conversation is like, oh, a very long medical history. Let me just have a look and see if there's any trigger points.
I'll just bring out your enormous file.
Yes. It's always a comment like, wow, you've been through a lot, haven't you? I wonder what this is.
I was just wondering also as well, I'd love to hear whether there's anything that's been done at Centrica that's helped, sort of, is it spreading awareness of the topic, or any workplace adjustments, how your team, I believe, rallies around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I've been really, really lucky with the people around me, and at Centrica, I could not have asked for better people around me and better support. It's been absolutely incredible from the moment it happened right through to today. So having Dawn is an absolutely fantastic support network. It's a great initiative to have and to be able to share stories. But from a personal perspective, it's things like, I never ever have had to worry about taking time off for a medical appointment, or I've never had to worry about being in pain and saying, hey, today I really need some support. Could you do this for me? Or would you mind just helping me walk here? Or, can I take some more breaks? I'm really exhausted here. Can I have flexibility of hours? All of those things have been made so easy by such incredible people around me who have just said, your health's number one. So let's help you as much as we can. And
Yeah.
it's been really good from equipment side as well. So when it first happened, I needed a wheelchair because at any sort of given moment, my foot would cave in. So we had it arranged that I could have a wheelchair that was permanently in the office. I got a leg rest, referral to workplace schemes for support. So every sort of avenue of emotional, physical, and mental support has been offered to me and made my life so much more easier because of it.
Yes, and there's a lot of stress to take off you, isn't it, when you're already dealing with the stress you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what's really great is no one's ever thought or that just because I've got this going on doesn't mean I can't deliver. They've actually gone, we know you can deliver, but let's make sure you do it in the most comfortable way you can possible for your health, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I mean, is there anything else you could think of that should be done differently, or anything new you'd prefer to be done?
I think there's just two things I think from a company perspective that may be worth considering. So one thought would be, I noticed, especially working from home, you have back-to-back meetings. Maybe it's a good idea that instead of having an hour meeting or 30 minutes, have it 55 and 25 minutes. So people just get 5 minutes to stretch, even if you have to do a couple of laps around the house or something, just something that gets the body moving again, because it's very easy to not do that. So it's a little thing that, maybe a change of mindset there. And also, like I said, it's been amazing for me because I certainly have the flexibility to take kind of regular breaks, to have, 5 minutes just to stretch and kind of get myself back together and manage the pain. So I think, no matter what someone's role is or anything, it'd be really good to actually make it a thing where, everyone has to take, a little break in the morning, a little break in the afternoon, have their lunch. And that way, anyone who's doing anything that is kind of repetitive or they're hunched over their computer, they just get a little bit of time to make a cup of tea or whatever it is and just go, oh, okay, I can stretch now and just get myself moving a little bit.
Yeah, and it's bringing self-care into the norm, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I really like that sort of 55-minute meeting. I have started doing the 45s, but even just that 5 minutes makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like I say, it's certainly those sort of things are working for me. So it'd be really good, no matter what you're doing in the company, be it field or office, that might be something that might help someone else.
Yeah, no, great tip. So last question before we go, is there anywhere people could get more information on CRPS, any websites or another podcast, or are there any useful resources that would help people learn?
Definitely. So obviously there's the NHS website that has a bit of information about it. I found the Versus Arthritis, you may have seen the adverts on TV. They've
Yeah.
got a conditions page which not only covers complex regional pain syndrome, but a whole wealth of everything, that you could think of, chronic pain rise. So that's a really good resource. There is a website called Burning Nights CRPS. That's because of the burning pain you get when you have CRPS, because you literally, your body goes on fire at points. So that was a really good sort of charity resource to have a look at. So yeah, there's definitely some really good information out there. Like I kind of reached out to people on forums and things like that to see if anyone else had experienced it. And
yeah, great. Okay, well, that has been a really interesting discussion. So a big thank you to Rebecca for talking to us today. We will be back for episode 4, where we'll be talking to Abhishek Kulkarni, chair of the Voice Network around disabilities and culture.